all right, I'm releasing this vlog on December 13th or a day before or a day after it. We'll see how I get to it or if I can remember to put it out in time. So it was a year ago on December 13th, 2019 that I released a blog. I wrote a blog about my experience at the Guthrie, and it was met with some resistance and other people's experience, like rightfully. But I just told my experience, and it was what it was. And what had happened to me at the Guthrie in 2018 was I was doing a play, and it was, we rehearsed in the green rooms and whatnot, and there was an Asian man across from me who was in a different play, and we were in the lounge room, right? And this is in the Guthrie, and he was sitting there having a conversation with somebody on the phone, and it was on speaker. And it's already weird because like somebody's on the phone like, yeah, okay, now you tell her, and like they're just yelling into it, and it's like okay, your business is my business now, and he's talking to somebody on the phone, and he said, well, hey, did you get the deposit? And the guy on the phone says, and what, I don't know, and I'm just like, okay, this is weird now. He doesn't look at me at all. Now I'm sitting probably 3 feet away from him, looking at him. I eat my food, and then I hear his friend on the other line say N-word. We're not going to say it just for YouTube purposes. We don't want to get flagged. And then he's eating, and then I just look up, and I'm like, this man continues the conversation as if either I'm not there or the word has no weight. And I'm like, and he goes off and continues his public conversation down the hallway with this dude on the other line shouting the N-word. And I'm just like, oh my God. So that happens. I then ring up the manager, and I'm like, hey, that happened, and it was a little awkward, and I didn't feel like it was a safe space. And it also it throws me out of my element. I'm trying to show up to do work. And now I got this dude who's not black, who has somebody on the other end of his phone, I don't know who he is, shouting the N-word. So you need to check your guy. And I said, like, in the letter, I was like, look, this is not far from where I grew up. And if that dude had that conversation outside of this building in that neighborhood, there would be an entirely different protocol for him. And it would not be me calling up the manager. So can you like check that in your building? Because it's weird already. And I know that y'all are trying to do equity and do equity for black folks. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't want to get into the language because I know that they got an official movement for it or whatever. Seeing that most of the Guthrie's constituents and people that pay for them are old white folks, or we could just say white folks in general. Then moving on, there was a play where they had me audition for in November of 2019. They called me in. I said, sure, yeah, I'll do it. And I came in and I read in the script, it's like a probation officer, a parole officer speaking to a person that, a younger person, and they're having an argument. They're going back and forth. And in the texts, the person opposite me says, N-word this, N-word that, in an inflammatory way, not in like, hey, what's up, my N-word, more in like, you N-word. And so I go into the audition space. There's two black people. One is the director, and then I believe there's two white people. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, who's gonna be calling me the N-word today? Or are you going to like muff it? Like, what are we doing? Let's have a conversation about this. Because you wouldn't just bring a demographic in. You wouldn't bring anybody from LGBTQ plus and have like a derogatory term for them in the script going at them and then not address it before you do the audition, right? Like, or just any kind of derogatory language that was gonna come at somebody and have a discussion real quick and say, hey, who's calling me N-word today? And so I go in, let's do it. And there's a white woman with the script, and I'm like, white person with the script, and I'm like, are they gonna be calling me N-word? I said, who's gonna be reading the script? And they're like, they are. And I was like, cool. So she's gonna be calling me N-word today. They froze up like a sidewalk in February. It was, and I was just like, and that was the tell. That was the tell. Because I was like, I'm open to it. I don't care if she's gonna say it, but it was the immediate like freezing that was like, no, she froze up, and then nobody had a response or a plan. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And I'm out. I don't want to be a part of this now. I don't want to be in this room. I don't want to do this. I don't want to work with any of these people. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And so it's uncomfortable, and now it's no longer not only not a safe space, but it's also not it's a white space that has definitely doubled down on it being a white space. I mean, I think about being at the barbershop, and if we were reading the script, and I said, hey, who's calling me N-word? Hey, I am. How do you want me to do it? You want me to say it like this, or what are you thinking? It would have been easy. Hey, let's break bread. But for them, they were not prepared. And it showed me just how far it went. And then afterwards, I wrote the blog about it, and I posted it online, and a bunch of people were like, hey, you know what the Guthrie's doing for black folks and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, I didn't know, man. This is my experience. I don't read the Guthrie weekly. I don't do that. And then, you know, because there were other black people in the room, they felt like I was indicting them, which I wasn't. I was just saying, personally, this is my experience. And they probably definitely had a different experience because they work at the Guthrie. You know, they're getting paid to be there. I just was showing up to do this audition, and I had no clue. Look, in the script, it's a white character anyway saying the N-word. That's all fine and well. I just want to know who's calling me N-word today. And are we on the same page? You know, like, and that's just where I'm from, and that's the conversation we have before we get into that. So yeah, and that was my experience with that. And after that, I said I'm boycotting the Guthrie. I'm never going back into that building, and I never have. And it's not to say it's canceled. I mean, I'm sure they can do black productions of prominent black playwrights and whatnot down the line. I think that they can probably do good work down the line, but for me and my black body, I'm not gonna be going in there anymore, because it's not only been twice, it's been like seeing the productions and being like, man, I just don't feel comfortable here. And it comfortable in the way that they're trying to address race, and it's being very poorly and not thoughtfully put out. And it comes to a point where you can only give a multi-million-dollar building so many chances before you're like, okay, hey, be well, peace be with you. And it's not, I think people take it as more of like a more radical than it is. And it's just like, for me as a black artist, as an actor, I'm not going back in that building, because I've had a history of being attacked and then dismissed. And that is Minnesota racism in a nutshell. And also, if you look at theater in Minneapolis, it radically erases people of color. Go no further than 2013 at the Ordway. They cast the lead of Miss Saigon as a white woman. Now, Miss Saigon has its problems in and of itself. Shout out to Bao Phi, who, when I was in college and Miss Saigon was coming through town, Bao Phi, a prominent Vietnamese spoken word artist, was speaking out against it, and he was like, "The hell out of here with that. Miss Saigon's racist as hell." And in my mind, I'm like, what? I thought it was a Broadway, hit. And I'd never seen it before. You just see it in like, the posters and whatnot. In 2013, the Ordway cast a white woman as a lead in Miss Saigon. I believe it was Park Square or Pillsbury, one of them that starts with P, that did Anna in the Tropics, and they cast a bunch of white folks as Latinx folks. And like this continued on. Like this happens. Like this is no stranger in Minneapolis and Minnesota, and people think that they can still keep pushing it and get away with it. And so for me, I just feel that the work for me going forward is to detach from those institutions that are really being a catalyst and a promoter and advertiser of black pain and white supremacy in arts, and then pair up with places that are really trying to promote black voices, black expression, black agency, in black liberation. Woo, black liberation. Let's get into it. In the arts as well. So that's what happened a year ago. And I'm sure it still sticks. I'm sure it still sticks with some folks. And if y'all got something to say about it, put it in the comments below. And it doesn't stop there, because once vaccines go out and maybe theater goes up in 2025, I don't know, we can have the conversation again. Who knows when theater is going to go up? Whew, that's a conversation in and of itself. All right, this one's gone on long enough anyways. I will get at y'all later on. I can't wait to continue this conversation, and we'll see you in the next video.